welcome. This is going to be probably one of my favorite topics, all about color. I forget what I called it. The influence of color. And it's true because color influences pretty much everything we do, and often we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere in our world. So thank you all for being here, and for those of you watching online, we just love doing our art discovery, and we love that you guys like to come every week and put up with people like Ray. But even his sweatshirt is colorful. So today's panel, I'm going to go this. I'm kind of in the middle this time, but no, because I'm going to show stuff for you. So Heidi Rosner lives right here in Scottsdale and is very well known for her incredible, vibrant watercolors. And we'll talk a little bit about your technique in addition to color. Then, of course, we have Ray Tigerman, who just finished singing for all of you because he likes to do that just as much. It's not fair that somebody gets that many gifts, but we'll let it slide. And the beautiful Beth Zink, who lives right up in Cave Creek. So,
give it up for
Arizona, Team Arizona. And we happen to have, since two of the painters are such Arizona lovers of nature, we do have some of our great local flora represented. And fauna? Or is it just flora?
No
fauna.
You could make a case for the horse.
No fauna right now.
I charge extra for animals.
Yeah.
I charge extra for animals.
You charge extra for animals, and
I throw in birds for free.
yeah, you do birds.
That sounds like a song.
And you sing for a song. So we had to have the little cowboy, little country represented here. So, but today we want to talk about a couple of different things. First of all, a little bit of the theory of color, and we've got some great props to share with that. And then we're going to talk about the kind of composition of color and why you might put colors next to each other, which kind of ties into theory. But I do want to start off just having each of you say a little bit about how long you've been painting and why this subject matter. And I'll start with you, Beth.
I've been painting as long as I can remember. My elementary school art teacher told my mother I had a gift and encouraged my dad.
Get personal with it.
Get really personal with
Yeah,
it?
like this.
Oh, okay. My elementary school art teacher told my mother I had a gift and convinced my dad to allow me to major in art in college, which I did. And here I am making a living as an artist, but what I'm most well known for is my vibrant, bold, imaginative color. And that's what makes me happy and makes my clients happy. I like personally to use a lot of complementary color, opposite colors. For example,
wait, you're going all the way into theory.
Yeah, back in.
please hold. I always go too far.
But we love what we know about you, and you have a mini Beth, your granddaughter, who has been coming helping on weekends. That I know she's going to be in the show in the future, but she's adorable. Lillian, yes.
Okay, I want you to talk about theory, but later.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Ray Tigerman, and it's spelled just like it sounds. Tiger. Yeah. Beth, by the way, also is an amazing teacher. She's a great roommate. I won't share those stories, but yeah. And generally, she's just awesome, and a very tolerant neighbor. Can you imagine being stuck with me for 9 weeks, 10, whatever, 1,000? Yeah, I overhear her once in a while going, "It's like our prison. I can't escape Ray." I'm like, sorry. Yeah. I love color, clearly. I've always been drawn first to color, and probably subject, and then texture, the elements of it. But color is the continuity, right? It is. It's what everyone is looking for in one form or another. And there's so many homes that are neutral, with neutral palettes, which is very soothing. And color, I find, is that added element that just can really bring it all together. So yeah, and I've been painting since I was a wee little boy. Yep, that's it.
Awesome. And yeah, we're gonna find out why you paint horses all these different colors and coyotes and stuff.
Because horses are blue.
Horses are blue and red and pink. So, and Heidi, you came about art through a different career in the beginning.
Yes, I have been painting for a long time. But my first career was a mechanical engineer, and so I kind of stumbled into painting. But started as a hobby, and I moved into it in a professional capacity. I've been doing it full time since 1997, and I love the desert. I love everything about the desert. I've lived here for longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life, and I resonate with the flora, the fauna, the sunrises, the sunsets. I just think it's a magical, colorful, wonderful place, and color is my drug of choice. It's a gateway drug. It's led me to this. And so if I have to be addicted to something, it's the best game in town.
Excellent. Awesome. Okay, so Beth, I'm going to let you carry on a little bit about we love complementary colors, and you can explain that, and you might have a prop. Do you need somebody to hold it? Ray can hold it. I'm so excited. Color theory.
What an improvement.
Yeah.
Thank you. We can do this side too.
That's the original Ray Tigerman on the back of my color wheel. You know, when Susan talked about having us do this, and I thought, well, the teacher in me, I do teach painting classes to adults, and I have props at my workshops and my classes, and I thought, oh, I'll bring this along just to kind of give you the Cliff's Notes version of color theory, okay? But microphone.
I'm
gonna be-
microphone close up.
Okay. All right, here I am. Anyway, you don't need to know all that about everything there is to know about color, except for the fact that there are warm colors and cool colors, and when you put warm colors next to cool colors in a painting, it creates such a great contrast. It's equivalent to black versus white. So when I put yellow-orange flowers on a blue-violet background, for example, right here, that's what makes that painting so vibrant, so bold. If I want to have, and there's like opposites on the color wheel. Opposite blue is orange, opposite blue-violet is yellow-orange. So that's how you create that drama. I like drama in my paintings, but not in my life. Another part of the color wheel that you can use is to have the colors that are similar to each other, which are also called, I forget, it'll come to me. So complementary is opposite. Anyway, I'm using, in this painting I used all colors that are similar to each other and all related to each other. It's a much more warm and quiet and serene sort of look compared to the opposite colors. So the mood that you create in a painting can be, as you're developing your painting, and what you want to evoke in people's minds or their imaginations or their emotions is created by which colors you used next to each other. And that's my favorite thing to do.
Okay, so I love your color wheel. Thank you. Primary colors. If you only had 3 colors, could you make all the other colors, Beth?
Why, yes. Funny you should ask. These people really want to hear all this.
Yes.
There are 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. But try making every color up here with those 3. Guess what? It ain't happening. Anyway, red, yellow, and blue are the 3 primary colors. Secondary colors are what are made from adding those together. So we have yellow and red make orange, Yellow and blue make green. Blue and red make violet. Those are your secondary colors. You want to get real fancy, then you get the two title colors, and those are red, orange, yellow, green. But no matter what, if you want to create color harmony in a painting, there was an instructor on PBS named Terry Madden. I believe he was out of Florida, and he painted a lot of tropical flora and fauna. And he said, if you think of the color wheel as a clock, because there are 12 colors, like an analog clock, if you use any consecutive 4 colors, you will have a harmonious color composition. So you can think of starting with any one, blue, violet, red, but if you just use those colors in a painting, it will be very harmonious. Just saying.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Isn't it interesting to learn? I mean, most of us probably learned that in grade school art classes, because we all, how many did a color wheel when you were young? Anyone? Yeah. But we don't think about it. And our world is filled with color, and nature is filled with color, and we use color for everything from traffic lights to signage, and those colors have significance. Like, red, what does red represent? Stop or danger, alert, or sail. Red's an attention color. Green means go. What else is green?
Cash.
Cash. Oh, everybody's using crypto now, I guess, but so green evokes more of action, go, 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 and yellow is caution or pay attention to me, right?
Or when you
Or
get
sunshine.
flowers from someone that you were hoping for red and they're yellow, it's like your friends.
Your friends, yep. But even the sky, like the sun is yellow, the sky is blue, that's complementary. So I love how you all have brought these nature, gifts from nature. And yes, you wouldn't want to have to mix all your colors. How many tubes of paint do you have, or jars, or whatever? Millions?
I have 12 that I use regularly.
Okay.
About 80.
About 80? Okay. So,
He doesn't like to mix color.
I like to mix color. Sometimes I'm weird.
you just want to scoop it. So you paint with a palette knife.
I do.
And
Well,
we've got a lot of color going on here.
we got a lot of color on there, yeah. There's about probably 30 layers of paint. And one of the things I like to do, by the way, Beth, thank you. I didn't know any of that, so I appreciate all that. I'm learning stuff. I learned stuff last time with Randy, which was good. So when I was painting this piece, when I told Beth to paint this piece, it's something that I love, right? There's a lot about color, but the reality too is, if you start with, say, blue, and you want to go purple, you could have 10, 15 different shades of red or blue that you could kind of add in to get all these different tones, right? I love that. That's what's cool about color is, when I say I have 80 different things of paint, I like it, and you get some cobalt, some cerulean, all these cool colors in here. And then yellow pops best against
Purple,
or
violet,
blue.
blue.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things I do too is like red. It's hard to tell, but I usually have about 8 or 9 different tones or shades of red, and I usually start with dark, and then I'll go a little, maybe a little crimson, and then I'll just keep kind of adding, and then my top layer sometimes can be a little bit, like the lightest tone, which I like. But yeah, this is just like a mess of color, which I like. Anyway.
Did you ever paint pastels?
I like pastels. Yeah. I've done everything. I started off as a watercolorist, which was a really good education for positive and negative space. Arguably the best. And some of the effects that I do, like even his feathers up there, is kind of more of a watercolor type, effect, if you will. I like just a little bit of water with acrylic kind of thin down. Yeah, and I like that. I like sometimes I like doing color combinations that are almost uncomfortable, but they work. And people usually have either 3 different reactions to my paintings. They're like, oh dear God, my eyes are bleeding, or oh, I love it, or I'm not sure. I like that. I like to evoke a conversation.
What's most?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're like, I would have bought this painting had I not met you. That's usually what I get, I never meet your heroes, but yeah.
But I love that your imagination has the horses are in color.
Totally, yeah.
So you're not a representational.
No, sometimes, I can be very literal on certain things, but, like blue is the most prevalent color in the spectrum, right, in nature. And I like that idea. I like adding blue in just about everything. I like making things that are highly exaggerated, and I do that with color. I don't really, if you've seen some of my creatures, my horses, my riders, they look a little weird, which I like. But, here's a good example of a relatively normal painting, a subject, but I have clearly abstracted it and manifested a whole different kind of personality with color, which I just love doing that. Yeah.
I think your color is energetic.
Well, I like you too.
Yeah.
I like you too, Beth.
Seriously.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bordering on crazy, but energetic.
Yes. People say you're kind of like the art you create, right? I would agree. Yeah.
Very good.
Sorry, Susan, I didn't get up. Sorry.
I love you. I do. And I love how this sharp yellow line at the horizon line.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes it can be very difficult to take, as we all know, right? You're dealing with color. How do you just not create a mess of color on a canvas, whether you're doing abstract, whether you're doing like wonderful florals? And that's the magic of really being skilled in your color and that positive and negative highlights, low lights. Like, that is a close-up shot of a cactus, right? Same thing with, all these different tones on there. And the white is a great relief, right? White is a great pop. It's a good counterbalance to like a lot of color. And I appreciate that too. And yellow is the same thing over here. And the white tones, the cactus. I'm trying, Beth. I'm trying,
So awesome, very good. And what I also love is how each of you put so much thought. Even you don't take Ray too seriously, because he does give a lot of thought to the colors and the placement. But I know you do. Well, probably all of you do commissions for sure. I know all of you do. And Heidi, I love when you do your color studies, and you do it whether you're starting just your own individual painting or if you're doing a commission. But a couple things I want you to talk about are you're a watercolorist, and historically or traditionally we would think of watercolor as kind of light and airy and translucent, right? And it used to always be on paper and behind glass because it was on paper. Well, you have perfected painting directly on canvas, and by the way, she can't get, there's no such thing as white watercolor paint. So when you see white, it's the paper, and she might have a wash. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your color studies and about how you get these vibrant colors from watercolor, and leaving that white space is critical.
Leaving that white space is really important. If I have to have white on my subject at all, because you really can't erase with watercolor. You can do a little lifting. I don't use staining pigments, so I can bring it back on canvas. Can't do that with paper very well because it just shreds the paper. So yes, I paint on canvas. I do a lot of commission work, and when I start a piece, especially a large scale piece, I do a study because I get one shot with watercolor. I can't go back in if a client says to me, gee, I like this, but could you make it yellow instead of purple? With oil painting, you can go and cover it up and make it yellow instead of purple. maybe or maybe not, but
Are you saying I'm cheating? Is that what I'm getting from you?
if the kettle is black, I'll call it good.
I have to agree with you. Watercolor is the most difficult medium of the three.
It's challenging. So this is I did a previous piece like this, and it was a commission for a client. And so I started with a color study like this. The end painting did not look anything like this. Because I did the color study, we made decisions based on this that changed the look and feel. I did another color study for them after this one, but I gave it to them in the process of delivering the painting. But when I did that study, I did this color map of all the pigments that I used in the study, and this is how we designed the actual painting that was delivered. We picked the colors off of this, I did another study, nailed it, and then I did a painting larger than this actually for the client, and they loved it, and thank God I didn't have to do it again, because it was a beast. But I decided I liked it so much that I was going to do something similar again, so that's what motivated and inspired this. This is Spanish lavender, which grows really well here in Arizona. If you don't have them in your landscaping, you might want to consider it, because they're very showy and beautiful, and yes, you may pass that. And they're drought tolerant, so they do really well in the desert, but that's an aside. So to Beth's complementary color conversation, greens and purples makes it pop. Complementary colors across from each other on a color wheel. I take a little artistic license with some of my pieces, but because I'm a representational artist, I tend to stick within the wheelhouse of what the subject would look like, the colors that it would have. This Echinopsis, I just finished this 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and I preserved the white because that's important, but I blend the background. I do a technique where I create kind of an ombre background with color. This is a warm that goes down into almost cool, not quite cool colors in the background, so it gives you the effect of sunlight. You can create sunlight with color. And the shadows that happen as a result of the cast image down here, so this is all in shadow, so it's darker than it would be if you saw it out in the desert. So I use color to kind of direct the light, and color to kind of define the tone. And because color is my thing, I just challenged myself, actually, thanks to my neighbor, to do a piece that was very different from me. It's in my studio now, it's almost done, I just need to varnish it. But I was challenged to create a painting with a white background. Can I just tell you that I have had more angst over this painting than almost anything I've done, perhaps ever. It's an agave, and it has a white background. It's very monochromatic, very different from me for what I normally do, and it hurt, physically hurt while I was painting it, because I kept wanting to do something with all that white space. And my typical collectors, people that have come and collected from me for years and years, would walk up to me and say, "Oh, that's really interesting. What are you going to do with the background?" And I'm like, no, not the background question. So it was very stressful to do this painting.
However, your three little studies all
I did
flew
3
out the
studies
door.
before I committed to a big canvas, and they flew out of the door immediately. So I kind of had that going for me, but this was one of the reasons this show is so awesome, is that you can experiment with things and get immediate feedback. And so my feedback was all like, "Oh my God, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible." And then my clients were coming by saying, "Well, where's the color?" And then new people are coming up saying, "Oh my God, that's amazing. I've never seen you do anything like that before." And I'm like, "Oh my God, now I'm really going to go crazy." I don't know what to do with it, but it's in my studio if you want to come see it. I'm to the point now where I've gone through all the stages of a painting, loving, hating, and now I love it.
Well,
And
and
I'm ready to varnish
it's
it.
interesting because it evokes a sense of peacefulness.
It does.
Because it's the agave green
Yeah.
and just a little shadow and the white background. So it's a different feeling than the vibrant, energetic paintings that many of us are
Yes.
used to.
Where's your studio located?
Right over there, 133. Thank you, tour guide.
Would you like to talk about these fabulous
So,
things? We can pass those around too.
I've gone through a number of different palette iterations in terms of the pigments that I use. I'm at about 18 tubes that I use for most of my paintings. Every now and then I'll throw in a random iridescent or something just to play around. But I have right now I have about 18 what I call active wells on my palette. And there are some that are dry. Active wells, the wells
that would be
put pigment in. So when you squeeze paint out of the tube onto a palette, you squeeze it with watercolor into wells so that they don't all run together in a messy ickiness. That's a technical term. And so right now I have about 18 active wells, and I have a few that I'll play around with. And you can come see what my palette looks like. It's kind of a mess usually. But I lay my colors out kind of like a rainbow, but I organize each segment of the rainbow with warm and cool colors so that I can kind of go around it and know exactly what I'm going to get when I put my brush in it. And I keep a palette mat handy because when I do commissions, I'll start with this. I'll say, so what colors appeal to you? Why don't you kind of tell me what direction you want me to go, and I'll start from there. And then I'll do a bunch of little, and we can pass these around if you guys care, but I do a bunch of little studies for commissions or for paintings about what colors I'm going to use for any given piece.
I love those.
So these are fun. They're like little pieces of candy. But we can pass these around if you want to take a look at all these things. So.
All right. I'll hold one up here and we'll pass
the others.
Start them right there. Yeah.
Should I pass this around too?
I think we can hurt somebody with that pizza.
Yeah.
So one thing that people might be interested in, that I'm interested in, is, like I said earlier, watercolor by nature is more translucent, yet you have such vibrancy. Is that because you use less water? Is it more layers?
I use the same amount of water as I do when I used to paint on paper. I just do a number of layers. And I do them very gently. And then I let the pigment do the work. I work very wet, and I'll lay this all in at once and drop pigment in. And because it's watercolor, it moves around while it's drying because of the surface tension effects. And so it will migrate like this. All of these wonderful little lines and swizzles and whatever you want to call them happens naturally. I put the pigment down, put my brush away, step away, let it dry. The easiest thing to make with watercolor is mud, and that's because you go in and you overwork it. So if you lay it down and walk away, it's going to dry and do something fabulous that you have no control over.
So traditionally, watercolors are on paper,
Yes,
and it appears to me that these are on canvas.
yes.
Can you talk about the difference between the two mediums or the substrates?
Well, I prepared these substrates on my own. I came up with a magic dust, if you will, that I put down before I paint. I do 4 or 5 layers, texturize them, because when I used to paint on paper, I liked a rough paper. I like the tooth. I don't like the texture of a canvas to show through. I like my created texture. And in some pieces I work a little smoother, and in some I go really, really big on the texture.
I have a question about the white. Do you mask that to
I do.
keep it white then?
I do.
Explain that to the people.
Okay, there's this stuff called masking fluid. It is a watercolorist's best friend when you're working on large areas and you have small areas that you want to protect.
Kind of like rubber cement,
It's
isn't
kind
it?
of like rubber cement. It's gooey. You don't want to use a brush to put it on because you'll throw that brush in the trash. If you do it right, it protects all the white and then you lift that off, and then you can paint whatever it is you want to paint as the subject.
And a varnish on a canvas is they're both reflective surfaces, and that's what brings out the brilliance of the color in the painting. So I think most of us, well maybe not Ray, put a clear varnish over a painting. Do you use varnish?
I use varnish. Yeah.
Oh, Ray
sometimes-
does use varnish. Okay.
Let's talk about varnish.
satin.
We're talking
Do you-
about varnish.
Do you like gloss or satin or matte, which is dull?
You know, I'm an equal opportunity employer of all phases of varnish. So varnish is interesting too with gloss. Inherently has the ability to really pop color, right? It can make things look almost like wall jewelry, which I. But one of the issues that I've encountered with gloss is light reflecting off of gloss can depending on your collector's home, where the light disposition is, where it's located. If you have a really shiny surface, that can almost kill a painting. So
You get hot spots.
you get hot spots, yeah. And sometimes it's nice if they're in like ambient locations. It can really look beautiful. So I kind of play around with them. It's not uncommon for a collector to say, hey, high gloss, can you dumb it down, if you will. And so then I'll try a satin varnish, and then usually satin is a good kind of hybrid between the two. That seems to work on this. This guy is, I think he's a blend between gloss and a satin. Yeah, I think so. But even that, like, you've got a light pretty much on him, and every painting inherently, depending on the closeness of the light, is going to have a reflection or a hot spot, if you will. But this looks pretty.
Something else
Yeah.
we haven't talked about color is value. And value is the lightness or darkness of a color. Value in painting has nothing to do with ethics or morals.
Thank you. Thank God.
So if you have a painting that has high and low values, like think about black and white, one is on the scale of 1 to 10. If you have a lot of lights and darks in a painting, it doesn't really require great lighting, and most art does require good lighting, but a painting that has all similar values, like all medium tones, would be more, would require more light. When people come to a show like this, we're all trying to make our work look the best we possibly can with our banks of LED lights. Well, that's not the way it is in your home. So that's why we recommend a home show, going to take it and look at it in your own space. Your paint color is not the same as ours, your lighting is not the same as ours, and it's really important to see a piece of art in your own space.
Sometimes.
What do you mean?
Sometimes.
What do you
Well,
mean?
let's just say that you have a collector who lives in London
Okay.
or Canada.
Okay.
It's going to look great. Don't you worry. It's going to look good. Yeah.
You can always
Listen to her.
get lighting installed. Yes, yes. But go back and talk a little bit more about value and tone.
Okay. Well, when I think of value, as I said, the lightness or darkness of the color. I remember the first class I took in college in like Color 101. We had to make 10 little swatches or 20 little swatches of a color from black to white, and they all had to be equidistant. And I remember being so frustrated about that, thinking, why am I having to do this? But there are the range of colors. When you go to any paint store, and they show you like a million different color swatches. Well, that's what we had to learn in school, was the change in value. If you think about red, for example, a light value of red is pink. A dark value of red is burgundy or cranberry color, So that's the range that's red with white or black added to it. But in any color, if you want to lighten it, you add white. If you want to darken it, you add a darker color. Sometimes it's black, sometimes I like using purple, brown if you want it to be earthy.
This
Buy a color
is
wheel.
too small.
Yeah, well, or get Beth's color wheel back.
Oh, thank you.
And then we'll share about this one next to it. Okay. So every one of these upside down colors rotating.
You can just say, Ray, please turn it right side up.
Yeah, more white. When's the last time anybody went to buy white paint for their house? How many colors of white do you think currently are on record? Yeah. And most of us do not have color memory. There are some people, I have pretty close color memory from some previous training, but you can look at something and 5 minutes later, go to the store and try to pick it out. It's very difficult to match. That's why swatches are really super important. But
If you're an artist, this is a really good tool. Just a simple color wheel.
it's called the pocket color wheel.
I mean, you can get
Or
a,
you can
get a
This
wall
is a
size.
jacket color wheel.
But this
Right
one
here.
has you can spin it around and see what complementary colors are. And it's got the values all here in terms of, darks, like Beth was talking about, the darks versus the lights. And you hold it up to a painting and you can say, okay, so this is a value 1, 10%, whatever value, and then you go down here and you're like, okay, that's like an 80%, 90% down here. So you really want to have that value contrast with paintings. Beth does a great job of it, especially in that yellow and purple one. The value contrast is awesome.
Thank you. You know what they say, value or color gets all the credit, but value does all the work. That's what they say in art painting classes. And that's true, because what really makes a painting pop or vibrancy is the change in value, the lightness and darkness of the colors.
Is that like dry for show, cut for dough?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why amateurs, like if we try to throw paint on, we end up with something very flat, because we're using maybe just the key colors instead of blending or adding the different value to it, or we just don't know what we're doing.
Ray does a lot of change in values. Also, light values are pastel colors, and Ray uses a lot of pastels.
I like pastels.
I know,
do.
you do.
There's a great painting in your studio that's a gift from your fellow artist.
David Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hated my dog. Yeah, and he did a really good job. I wish I had it here, but it went home.
Oh, you took it home?
I took it home. Come on.
Selfish of you,
I'm
but
really
whatever.
great. I took my painting home of my dog to show my dog. I was like, dude, what are you thinking? She was like, she didn't even say it. She didn't appreciate it. And then we had a conversation about it, right? Like, if you have kids, how many of you have kids? How many of you have paid to have portraits of your kids done? How many of you have animals? Okay. Any portraits of the animals? What the hell? Yeah, so anyway. So I had like whatever, mom, it's my portrait. So, and she didn't even appreciate it. She doesn't care. She's like, where's my next tree? Anyway, so.
She loved it, but what I like about it, and we would have shown you if it was still here, but David Jackson took colors that Ray loves, but he needed them.
He Jacksonized it.
Jacksonized it. He made them more soft tone. Is that correct? Verbiage. And then, but it was like you could tell it was like a typical Ray background to one of his more abstracts, but it was muted down, and then Madge was the star. Yeah.
Well, and values, right? Lighter subject, richer, more colorful background, which.
But if he had left the colors as high key as you do,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a super different experience, because it would be the
I would have had to have painted it myself. Have you met David?
the energy would be different.
I'm like, David, add a little color to it. He's like, I've been doing this for 750 years. I'm going to do it. Actually, talking about David Jackson, if you can hear me. If y'all want to see him, by the way, you hang out here and you go left, go way down. He's somewhat of he's sly. David is sly. Your first pass over his work, they're very earth tones, very muted. But if you really look at him, he's got a lot of color going in on the shadows. in all these different little arenas and pisses me off, really. I'm like,
He's copying you.
I would be flattered. So,
Well, I think it's interesting. One of the things I've always enjoyed doing, and if you haven't done this, it's a great fun experiment, is to walk around the show and look at the palettes of the different artists. Because there's a story in each of those palettes. And we've done some great photos of different palettes around the tent. Did we do a match the palette to the person one year? I think we did. We should do that again. Because the palette is where, all of the action happens that creates the painting
dude,
with your hand.
that is actually, all the action happens on the palette. Yeah.
And then your hand is what takes it to the canvas. So
And I'm in a third person myself. Where does Ray mix his paint?
I think it's on a magazine.
I think it's on a magazine.
Or on my canvas? I love to mix
yeah,
on my canvas.
with your
yeah.
palette knife on your canvas.
Totally. It
So
ends
your
up there
can-
anyway.
No, but your canvas, your palette is all of your buckets of paint.
People
Kind of like
often
ice
ask
cream
how I
with
can
paint.
get
Dude, this is awesome. Buckets of paint. This typical background. This is awesome. Thanks, Susan.
I think he went to
It's typical
baking
background.
school.
Yeah, it's like a cake only it's a
You
paint.
don't care.
So people often, the most asked question is, how do you get such vibrant, some deep color with watercolor? Because, I try it and it's all like pastel looking. And the first thing I tell them is you put the pigment down like you mean it. Don't be tentative. Go big. Go with the color. And second thing I say is look at my palette. When you look at a watercolor palette or an oil palette, the colors are so rich and pure and vibrant, there's no reason that intensity couldn't be on the painting as well. Just put it down with belief and meaning and conviction.
Yes.
Just go for it.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a canvas. It's just a board. It's what
Have faith.
paint. Just put it on there.
I don't know why that just reminded me of the old, one of Van Gogh's friends said to him, "You paint too fast," and his answer was, "You look too fast." I love that. I wasn't there when he said it, but I saw it in a movie, so it must be true. But really, the palette study is great. It's a fun, if you haven't added that to your tour, do it next time you go around the tent. And it tells a little bit about the personalities too. Some people are very neat. Some people, have their wells perfectly aligned. Some people are very intriguing with their buckets of paint. And then, Beth is going to be neater with hers. And some artists pile on the paint like they have an unlimited supply, and others. We used to have an artist named Fred Denny's, and he used the littlest amount of paint, but he had used the same palette for so many years. They were like
Stalactites.
stalactites. So
remember that.
so you go by and you see like these very small, like pencil-sized stacks with a little bit of wet paint at the top, and that was Fred Denny's. And then, on the next aisle was Ron Cheek, who used a palette as bigger than these copper tables. A table, like, with almost a whole tube of every color squished out, and he did both brush and palette knife. So it talks about the personality too. So add that to your list of fun things to do in the tent.
No mystery. I'm OCD. My palette
Engineer.
very organized.
Yeah, Beth has, very envious. She has these bottles. They're labeled. You can actually read the writing. They're nice and clean. And so when she's gone a couple days, she teaches classes and things like that. And so I borrow some of her paint every once in a while. I do. And I noticed I was using your raw umber. And the second time I went to use it, I was like, well, it's clogged. That's because I used it and I didn't clean it. And I learned a lesson. So sorry about that. But yeah. And if you were to look at my table, it looks like my shirt. It's I'm kind of romantic when I paint. I'm like mixing and
But a lot of the oil painters, oil paint won't dry, really, but they'll put plastic over it. Acrylics, you're going to either
They dry.
You're
Yeah,
going to
acrylics,
seal
super
your
nice.
jars or keep them tight.
Mhm.
And,
Watercolor, you just add water. You put it out in the wells and spray it the next day. It's just fine.
So anyway, it's one of my favorite things. Is just kind of the story behind the story. But why are you so drawn to color? What does it mean to you?
I have always been a color fanatic. Even as a little kid, my bedroom when I was 6 years old was red, orange, and yellow. And I mean red, orange, and yellow. Not, red, orange, and yellow. Like loud colors. I've always been attracted to color. Color gives me energy. Color makes me feel warm when I'm cold. Color cools me off when I'm hot. Color elevates my mood more than almost anything. When I say it's my drug of choice, I do mean it. Color will make me feel better than almost anything, with the exception of perhaps music. Color is it for me. My house is very colorful, my environment. I love it. I've always loved it. And you think, okay, she's wearing black. How important could color be to this girl? She's in all black. Well, guess what? All black is every color combined. I'm an equal opportunity dresser.
Oh yeah, very
They're
observant.
not black, but they're close.
They're dark gray. Beth, why is color so important to you?
Color makes me happy. And what I've learned from my clients is what they like about my art is that makes my paintings make them happy. That's the ultimate compliment I can receive from anyone that walks into my studio here, is that something about just the saturation of the color, the vibrancy, the intensity, the in your face, if you want, about it is what just brings us all joy. And not all of us, but some people like real serene art, very quiet and soft and restful type art. Mine is more lively and bold, and I like to make up my own colors. A lot of times I take a lot of artistic license with the colors of the cactus. People will say, "Are cactus flowers really that color?" I said, "No, but they don't have to be. I mean, they can be any color they want." It's just it just makes me happy, just like it does Heidi.
I'm shy. I'm really shy, so my color is a way to express my inner self. No, I know, I'm terrible. Really, why do you like color? Yeah, so I totally understand why houses are neutral, right? You come home, it's almost like cleansing, right? Certain areas of it, accent walls. And I like that. I'm the same way. I like kind of more of a neutral house, but I'm so obsessed with art that has color. It's like it can just pull your attention right to that. And it really, it's mood changing. And Sorry, jeez.
Did you do
I know a sound guy.
Did
I know a
you
sound
stand
guy.
up in Las Vegas?
No, I swear I should right now. No, but color is
sets
important.
the tone.
It does. It sets the tone, and it's transportive. However you feel, whatever type of color it is, if it's bold, if it's more subtle.
I was going to mention too how art sets the tone and it influences, kind of back to our topic title, it influences everyone around it. And there's a reason why many hospitals have beautiful, vibrant, colorful art. And Heidi's going to talk first about it, and then we can talk. But it's a healing atmosphere, and many hospitals have invested a great deal, or they have programs set up where artists in residence show their work. But I spent a lot of time at Mayo, and I would just, in between appointments, I would go walk through and look at their mural Mahaffey's and, whatever exhibit was there. Sometimes they'd have colorful quilts. I can't talk very well, but, or you go to pediatric wings and they have beautiful, vibrant, happy, evoking artwork. And tell me about your experience with that.
Yeah, I have a number of pieces at the Mayo Clinic that's in their permanent collection, and they also do this visiting artist program that I participated in a number of times, and I'm going to be having an exhibit at the hospital again in May. I don't know, a half a dozen pieces probably, because they understand the value of the healing properties of artwork, and they're an equal opportunity displayer. They don't dictate a medium, they don't dictate a color, they don't dictate a subject matter. They want any and all forms of art to get through their rotation program. So it's really a wonderful thing that they do, and it helps enormously, not just the families of patients, but the patients. My exhibit will be on a patient family wing, and the last time I was there, I got letters from families stating how important it was to have a respite from the reality of their life and their time there, to have something joyful to look at and to take their mind off of things. So it's really a valuable thing.
And here's to Mayo doing that for us, but and other hospitals do it too, but they do it very well. And we're going to get you a mic just a sec. The healing quality is so essential, and literally we've had many days that we've had patients from Mayo that have been there for extended stays that have come into the tent. They get a little day pass, and they come and walk through here to be inspired and invigorated. Can we borrow a mic? And just being here, we hope that, we feel like it does that a lot for everybody. Just, it can lift your spirit whether you need, health benefits or not. But please.
I just want to say that, going to different hospitals, and I was at an Honor Hospital and seeing Beth Zink's huge, beautiful, colorful artwork there as a surprise. She didn't know that I was there, but I was there and seeing, I think, 3 pieces there. And, me going through some hard times and seeing, waiting in the waiting room and seeing those pieces there was so inspiring to me. And it was just very, somebody I know's artwork there, and, you were volunteering your art pieces there, and it was beautiful, and I appreciate you volunteering those art pieces so other people could enjoy them. And I don't know how long you had them there, but it was wonderful. So thank you very much.
So there was a study that came 20 years ago. And it was done in conjunction with a number of different universities and
Here, take mine.
I'll take yours back. A number of different architectural groups and universities. It's called evidence-based design. So the idea was they wanted to find out specifically what the impact of environment is on healing. And the study was centered around hospitals. What came out of this study was very fascinating. Just what you talked about, right? Do you all remember 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, when you went into healthcare, you went into hospitals, it was pretty much like, gray, really like, mauve, turquoise, really sterile environments. Well, evidence-based design, when the study came out, and I'll cliff note it, is that using the application of very vibrant, nature-oriented art, landscapes, flowers in particular, actually did a number of things. One is, and again, this is a study that is done from trying to figure out if it's profitable, right? That's the key thing. And so what the study indicated is that it promotes health. People stay in a hospital less time. The employees are happier. You have less accidents. and you have a general promotion of well-being because of the application of really vibrant art. And I found that really fascinating. So even from if you're a CEO or a CPA or something of that nature and you're looking at it, it makes sense to put these types of, visuals in a hospital for that very reason. If you're in an ICU, you can turn over that room quicker. Potentially you can make more money, and the customer, the patient, they heal quicker. I think that's fascinating. So yeah, evidence-based design. I probably miffed up some of that, but I had a company in Nashville, and we did healthcare and hospitality, art and framing. And when that study came out, it was a boon to us because for the first time, we were able to put imagery that we felt belonged in healthcare versus the usual suspects. And I remember one story in particular. We were in an ICU unit, and I had a crew in there. Hospitals work a little bit differently. When they're created, you can get in there before patients are let in, but for the most part, they do like renovations. So they're at a wing or they're renovating wing. So we were in an ICU unit, and we were literally taking out black and white photos of dead trees. And we were replacing them with, beautiful, vibrant images. And there was a gentleman who had a heart attack. And we had to make a lot of noise. It was a concrete firewall that we had to hammer drill while he was literally in a bed. We were totally anxious. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're making a lot of noise. And by the time it got done, he literally cried. He was just like, oh my God, thank you, man. I've been looking at that effing dead tree. I just had a heart attack. I'm in total despair. And, and it was like we replaced it with something, much more uplifting. And that is the idea, is, what better way, to appreciate art than, really promotes you to get better.
They had to do a study to do that. Some of us could have told them that.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, so it really is, it's healing, it's inspiring, it's invigorating, and energetic, all the things that we want to reach for when we're in a time of trouble. So,
Take mine.
I actually had to do a mural at a hospice several years ago, and I just remember I tried to do this real ethereal kind of painting, thinking of, kind of heavenly looking, I guess.
Like ghosts leading. Jesus, Beth.
No, like plants and trees, a lot of pretty sky, not like a gate or St. Peter or anything,
A list,
Anyway, but it was up high, and I had to actually rent a piece of equipment, and I always felt bad that every time it was a scissor lift, and I had to go way up high to do the painting, and every time I had to back it up, I went beep, 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 and I felt like I was really making a big,
we have a beautiful representation of people who truly celebrate the natural beauty, and you bring it to life for those of us who we can look at it outside, but we'd like to bring it inside too. And you've done that in such a beautiful way, and I hope that everyone has taken a little piece of that beauty with them. And I think we've gone past our time, but please feel free to come up and chat with these lovely people. Heidi's studio is about not quite halfway down. You'll see it because it'll be filled with beauty. And Ray is right down this aisle here, and he's right next to Beth. So
We're a tag
visit their
team of color.
studios. Enjoy the other beautiful palettes on the palette and on the walls of all the other artists. And we'd love your feedback. We have a guest comment book up in the front, or you can always send in an email. But we thank you for being here and sharing your time. And fill your life with color. Enjoy.
Can I just say one thing real quick? Wait. So we didn't plan this collection of paintings, but somebody needs to buy all of them.
Yes, they look
so
great
beautiful
together.
together.
Let's go
Okay?
decorate somebody's house. Let's go show a house with joy. Yeah.